Let's be honest, gaming mice has become kind of oversaturated. A lot of people have gaming mice already. A lot of people have the ones they want. A lot of people I know tend to gravitate towards more popular ones, like the ones I reviewed recently, the Razer Viper or the Logitech Superlight. Those are arguably the most popular. But as a person who really likes mice in general and just has such an enthusiast thing about it, I love talking about other mice that I may not have stumbled across. That's why I love the WLMouse, though it's definitely become more mainstream in a couple of years. I just wanted to look for another alternative to what there could be on the market. If you guys don't know, the last two mice I reviewed were kind of more or less palm claw grip mice. And personally speaking, I am not one of those grips. I use fingertip grip. If you don't know what fingertip grip is, it's basically when I'm holding the mouse, was just using my fingers, such as so. And that's why I picked this mouse in particular, and this is the WLMouse Beast Miao. If you don't know what the Miao means, it probably has to do something with cats, and that's what this mouse is about. I've been using this mouse for 2 weeks, and these are my thoughts and opinions on this insanely good, surprisingly really well-made mouse. There's probably a good chance you've heard of WLMouse by now because you've heard of the Beast X mouse, and that's arguably the most popular alternative to the WLMouse, and for good reason too. It's cheaper, it's made really well, it's also available to buy whenever you need it, and I think that's why WLMouse is taking off in the mouse space, because it's just a better alternative if you really just want to buy a final mouse, super light, whatever there is right now. If you just want to buy one, you can buy it straight up from China, and it will come within a week or two. I think mine took about 2 to 3 weeks to ship. Not exactly the fastest, but I mean, it did come eventually, and there was tracking, so I wasn't really worried about it. But that's a great thing that you can just get the mouse that you want instead of having to wait for it to drop. I always appreciate that more. I bought this one for the website for about $150. It's about $30 to $40 cheaper than the WLMouse Ultralight X after tax, so it's a pretty good value considering it's, well, kind of the same mouse and feeling. Let's talk about the unboxing experience first. It's the first unboxing experience in which there was an animated photo card kind of thing, postcard. I don't know. It was weird a little bit to me. But other than that, then it's just a mouse. And I think that's really cool is that there's 2 receivers that came with the mouse. There's one that's 1 kHz and there's one that's 8 kHz. And I think obviously personally I'm using the 8 kHz one just because it looks like a cat and it plugs in and it has the lights and it's really cool looking, honestly. I think it's really cool to have dongles that actually have like character to it. As much as I love the WLMouse and how streamlined version it is, it works and it looks well and has a light for battery status. It's kind of cool to have this little cat on your desk just with, like, you know, RGB, and you can customize the RGB lights and it will blink red when the battery on the mouse is low, which is a nice touch. So you can have, you know, a mix of both functionality and both just personality. Okay, so other than that, let's talk about the shape, because obviously it's very strange to see a mouse this small. This mouse comes in at 91 millimeters long, 55 millimeters wide, and 34 millimeters in height. Again, the reason for these dimensions is to specifically cater to the fingertip grip style of us holding really, really small mice like this for the most control within our fingers, and it does a really good job with that. I think this is a really, really good size for that. It's also 31 grams being this small. It's a little bit more dense than the WLMouse. I think the WLMouse, the small cheetah version, is about the same weight. And because of these dimensions I just talked about earlier and the weight itself, I have to arguably say that this is not a mouse you should have if you decide to be a palm grip or fingertip grip user. Again, I have very small hands at 19 centimeters by 10 centimeters wide. And I've absolutely devoured this mouse in terms of its sizing. Like, I can hold it like in a grip, and that's the intention, is that you're just gonna hold it like this. And I really like the fact that it's really small because it works out for me. But for anyone else who doesn't have the same grip style, I don't see how you'd be able to make this mouse work, so just look away at this video right now. This mouse isn't probably for you. So in my experience of using this as a fingertip grip mouse, what do I think about this fingertip grip mouse as a fingertip grip user? It's amazing. I love the fact that there's so much control on this mouse. If you don't know why people use fingertip grip, it's because we have all these extra micro movements within our fingers that allow us to get like really cool flick shots or whatever, and it's just all within the tip of our fingers. It's not really using your wrist at all. It just allows for like those little tiny micro adjustments, like especially in Valorant, if you're trying to flick really headshots because they're how small they are. It makes sense that you want these micro adjustments. And I know a lot of people can use it with your wrist and use your arm and use your palm of your hand, but some of us just don't want them. We use our fingers, and that's what this mouse does a really good job of. Because of its super small size and small height, which is something that I think is really important to note. This height is only 34 millimeters high, that is great for being able to not bash the back of my palm accidentally, which can mess up my aim sometimes, which is definitely what happened on the Pulsar's Crazy Light a lot. Even though it was a pretty like small mouse overall, it still hit my top of my palm a lot, which I didn't like, and this one does not have that problem at all. I've hit some insane shots on this mouse using it, and I'm just gonna show some videos here.
Born again!
Double kill! You'll have to keep fighting until... Whoa!
Is this possible on other mice for me to do? Probably, but did it feel as easily, as fluid as, I mean, again, I only used this mouse for 2 weeks, and I managed to get those insane shots. For me, that takes a while to get used to. It took me a while to get really good on my final mouse, but this took me less than 2 weeks to get really good on this mouse. Talking about design, let's get into the actual design of the mouse itself. The colors, black and pink of this variant, I think are really, really cool. I think black with any other color is kind of an insane combination, and the pink, the neon pink, it kind of works for me. Even though I don't really like the cat inspired stuff that much because I'm actually a dog person. I know that doesn't really matter, but I just thought I'd point it out anyway. It's not my favorite thing in the world to see all this stuff. I think they leaned way too much into it to be a very minimalistic type mouse, but I do think the details are small enough, unless you look at the back. If you look at the back, it's kind of obvious this is a cat-based mouse. But if you don't look at the other details, you wouldn't be able to tell this is like a really big themed mouse. It just looks like, you know, your average super lightweight mice, just really small. Okay, let's get into the hardware. These use Omron optical switches, that at least the one I bought. There is a different version, and I'll show that picture here. That's the version that's the alternative. I didn't know what that was exactly, but I know what Omron opticals are, so I opted for those. I like the clicks a lot on this mouse. It's very comparable to my final mouse. I like very clicky clicks, very loud clicks. That's my favorite type of, I don't like the linear type of clicks for mouse clicks. I just like super clicky ones, and these really do a good job. Side buttons, however, a little bit mushier than I would like them to be. They're not as good as other mice I've tried, but they're definitely not bad. They're serviceable. It's just something I would just say is, you know, it's a little bit mushier than I would like them to be. However, the scroll wheel is something I just don't really fuck with that much. It's not my favorite scroll wheel because it's a little bit too high, and it did everything right except the scroll wheel is almost as high as the hump on the back. But then again, the scroll wheel is pretty high up considering the size of this mouse. I don't like that because I kind of want a lower overall profile, and I would just wish the scroll wheel was a little bit further down because hopping on it is not as easy as it was on the final mouse. And however, it functions fine and it clicks fine and it's good steps. It's just I kind of wish it was a little bit lower. Another thing I want to talk about is the skates. I was surprised by how much I liked I was surprised by how much I like dot skates because I've never used dot skates on mice before, at least not like this. And man, these are really good. Again, I just came from the Viper V3 Pro. That was the last mouse I reviewed. Those had a huge mouse feet and they were really, really easy to glide, but I was surprised by how small this is and how doable it is on just these 4 little dot skates. And I didn't expect it to be as smooth, but it really is, and they have a really big like thickness to it that allows it to do that. And man, these are just as good as the Viper V3's mouse skates. So these are really maneuverable, and this is not a cheap out at all, even though it kind of looked like it was. Again, if you've watched any of my reviews before, I don't really talk that much about the sensor, but it is an 8K hertz polling rate sensor, and it can hit 30,000 DPI. I'm just gonna say that it's a PixArt PAW 3950HS, which is also on the Beast X mouse, so you're getting a top of the line sensor here. Again, absolutely no problems with the sensor. And honestly, again, I use 1K hertz most of the time because 8K hertz, again, is not really viable for a lot of the games I play because they cause a lot of issues. The battery life on this mouse is really, really good, but it's not insane. I think Final Mouse has the best battery life of any wireless mouse for so far. This is pretty good though. I think I've only charged this once every week. Not to say that it doesn't last that long. It does last a pretty good long time. It's just I did charge it more often than I would charge the Final Mouse. But I'm not complaining about it whatsoever either because it has a pretty good cable, and it's pretty easy to tell that it's going to be a low battery. Because of the little cat on my table blinking red lights, it's easy to tell that my mouse is low on battery and I should charge it. So it's pretty obvious. Another thing I want to talk about, obviously, is the software. I have to go over software if it pisses me off, but honestly, the software isn't the worst. It's not the best either. It's just okay. It worked well. I had no problems downloading it. It was easy to set up. However, it did launch in Chinese, but you can easily change it to English as long as you know which is the button to change it to English. And the rest of the software works fine. You can customize macros, lift off distance, DPI, everything, you know, on any other high-end gaming mice. This is normally the part of the video where I'd be like, and there's the big flaw in this mouse that I kind of didn't like about it, for me personally. And honestly, I can't name one. And I'm not gonna glaze them because I'm a Chinese person, talking about a Chinese company, about a Chinese mouse. I know that could have been a thought, but it's just a solid mouse. And it's a really, really good competitor to the final mouse. And I understand why this mouse company has been taken off, because for the value of it, even though it's significantly cheaper by like $30 to $40, it performs just as well as the final mouse. Because this isn't plastic, this isn't a cheap plastic, this is a magnesium of some sort, because it's really, really solid on the build quality. And that's a thing, you would have thought they would have cheaped out because it's a cheaper mouse, but it's an insanely great mouse. And normally, again, I would complain about something, but I just think it's such a good value for money. Even though it is not a cheap mouse at $150, I would spend that extra $30 compared to the Pulsar Crazy Light to this mouse if you are a fingertip user. Again, for me, I am, so I would 100% spend that $30. It's way more worth it to me. And I think this is the only mouse in the last year or two that's actually made me consider switching off my main mouse to this mouse, and I haven't switched back yet, and it's been about 3 weeks since I've been using this mouse, and I've had no problems with staying on it, and that's the craziest part. I've not swapped back. Most of the other mice I've reviewed recently, I've always swapped back to the final mouse within a week just to try the difference. I had no reason to do that yet because I just know I perform really good on this mouse. And though it's not my favorite, maybe in terms of design, because I don't like the cat stuff, I do think the design overall is still pretty cool. I mean, it has personality, and I like the fact that each mice that you buy from them are not going to be the same. I feel like Final Mouse has kind of driven this like Greek mythology type of just cool colors and super material, like super minimalistic, but there's no personality in Final Mouse, and I think that they've kind of solved that. This is really cool, although I kind of hope they do a dog version. But as a fingertip grip user, again, I can't complain about this mouse at all. It's just super easy to use, and I kind of makes me want to dive more into other fingertip mice because this is really easy to use. I wonder what other ones are, and I kind of hope the next rendition of the Beast Miao just has a slightly lower hump on the scroll wheel, and honestly, it's an insanely perfect mouse for me. And this gets a glowing review from me, and almost I think it is my new daily driver for now, until I might switch back to the final mouse. But for now, I have been using this, and I will continue to put it on my desk for the foreseeable future. And that is a mouse that I cannot say about any other mouse in the most recent history. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys like and follow for more. Sorry that it took so long to put this video out. I was getting in the middle of final season, and I literally had to pack everything in my room to ship it in the storage room. I'm right now back in Singapore. That's all my setup is different. I have a bunch of different gear here, and I probably can talk about that stuff this summer when I'm making videos. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and like and follow for more. Peace.